The past few days Shirou was experiencing were weird and off. Why? Simple, everyone that knew him were being secretive lately. Every time whenever he would pass by either Arturia and any of her counterparts, Ishtar and any of her counterparts, Parvati, Bibi, or any of her sisters, Ilya, or any of her counterparts, Miyu, Astria, any of the Knights of the Round, Merlin, Irisvale, Jaguarman, Kiritsugu, and Ritsuka. And he wasn't alone on this. Emiya and his counterpart were experiencing the same behavior from the others as well. Furthermore, Ritsuka has been giving them a lot of more work for them lately, and Bedivere, Mordred, and Gareth were distracting them as well. Okay. Is there something wrong with the others? Shirou asked one day as he was behind the kitchen counter, cleaning the dishes. How should I know? I don't get involved in the behaviors of everyone around me, unlike you, Emiya replied. Me neither. It's none of my business, Emiya Alter said. Shirou let out a sigh. Just what is going on with everybody today? Alright, did Merlin get the gifts? Arturia asked. Yes. All that's left to do is to get the materials for the party and the other dishes as well. The Knights of Round now are gathering the tableware as well, Ritsuka said. Good. Now let's hurry. Me and my counterparts can't wait for the party to start, Arturia said as she quickly left the room, leaving Ritsuka alone. As Ritsuka was alone, he let out a sigh. I can't believe I'm doing this again. A few days ago, Ritsuka was in Da Vinci's workshop, listening to one of her famous lectures. Well, another day of Da Vinci's famous lectures. He thought while Da Vinci was going through one of her lectures/lessons. Are you listening, Ritsuka? Da Vinci asked, snapping Ritsuka out of his thoughts. HM? Oh, yeah. Ritsuka replied. Da Vinci narrowed her eyes. Anyways, over here, she said before she was cut off from the sound of knocking on her door. As she opened the door, it revealed Arturia and her counterparts. Hey there, Arturia. Is there something that you need along with your counterparts? Da Vinci asked. Da Vinci, we need to talk to you about something, along with Master as well, Arturia replied as she noticed that Ritsuka was in the room as well. Eh? Me too? Ritsuka asked, which Arturia and her counterparts nodded in agreement. Yes. Well then, come on in, Da Vinci said. Soon, Arturia and her counterparts then headed into Da Vinci's workshop. So, what is it that all of you need to talk to both me and Ritsuka, she asked. Well, it's this. We need both of your help with something, Arturia asked. Help with what? Simple. We need Ritsuka to distract Shirou for a few days, along with his counterparts as well. Meanwhile, Da Vinci needs to make a giant stove, Arturia Alter replied. Eh? Why? Ritsuka asked. Well, Shirou's birthday is coming up within a few days, Arturia Lily said. At that moment, Ritsuka and Da Vinci immediately knew what was going on and felt an immediate sense of déjà vu. Okay, I know where this is going. Like what happened with Shirou nearly a year ago, Arturia and her counterparts will ask me to distract Shirou and his counterparts for a few days just so that they can start the party preparations for him and his counterparts. Master, are you alright? Lancer Arturia asked. Yeah. I'm fine. Just remembering something, Ritsuka replied as he shook his head. So, let me get this straight. You want me to distract Shirou and his counterparts for a few days, while all of you make the preparations for the party. Correct? Yes, my master. How did you know? Ritsuka let out a sigh. Nearly a year ago, Shirou asked me and Da Vinci the same thing when all of your birthdays were coming up soon. Eh? Shirou did the same thing? Ruler Arturia asked. Yeah. In this exact room, Da Vinci said. I see. Anyways, can both of you do it? Arturia asked. Well, I can, but... Da Vinci said before she received a mop and Excalibur Morgan to her face. Do it, Writer Arturia Alter said. Yes. Or else we'll send you back to the throne of heroes, Santa Arturia Alter said menacingly. Da Vinci quickly shook her hands. Alright. Alright. I'll do it. I'll do it. Good, Writer Arturia Alter and Santa Arturia Alter said in unison. Da Vinci let out a sigh. Geez. Shirou wasn't this threatening when he asked me for help with Arturia's and her counterpart's birthday. Well then again, he wasn't altered at the time. Anyways, can you make a large oven to make a giant cake? Castor Arturia asked. Da Vinci let out a smirk. No need to. I already made one a long time ago. You can use it if you want. You made that oven when Shirou was making the giant cake, right? Mysterious Heroine X asked. Exactly. Great. Now we shouldn't have any more problems with making a cake big enough for Shirou and all of us to share, cake. Mysterious Heroine X Alter said as the thought of eating a giant cake again came into her mind. Mysterious Heroine XX let out a sigh. Anyways, Master, can you distract Shirou and his counterparts for a while? Yeah. I think I can do that. Although I'm not sure if I can pull it off when it comes to Emiya and Emiya Alter. They can sure be perspective of things. Ritsuka replied. Arturia and her counterparts nodded in agreement. Yeah. Just try to keep them busy, Arturia said. Will do. Good. We'll be leaving now. And remember the plan. Yeah. Arturia and her counterparts soon left Da Vinci's workshop, leaving Ritsuka and Da Vinci alone in her workshop. Well, looks like we're planning another party again. Da Vinci said. Seems so, Da Vinci, bring out the oven and the room again, Ritsuka replied in agreement. Yeah. Back to the present. Wow. It's already been a full year since Shirou arrived in Chaldea. Now that I think about it, we haven't celebrated Shirou's birthday last year. I wonder why though. Speaking of which, how did they know when Shirou's birthday is? And that includes Emiya and Emiya Alter's birthdays as well, since they're him, he thought as he carried the box to the room. Soon, he arrived at the room where the Knights of the Round were preparing. Hey, I got the Tupperware. Great. Now put it on the table, Master, Gawain said. Ritsuka followed Gawain's words and pulled the Tupperware out of the box and placed the plates on the tables. Lancelot, how are the decorations going? They're going fine. Just give me a moment to hang them up, Lancelot replied. Good. Tristan? I got the bottles of juice for the party, Tristan replied. Gawain let out a sigh of relief. Great. If everything here goes as planned, we'll be done with the party preparations before anyone notices. Good, Lancelot said as he was hanging up some of the decorations. Still though, I can't believe that we're doing this again. I know. And this time, it was under our king's and her counterparts' orders, Gawain said as his mind went back to a time earlier. A few days ago. The Knights of the Round and Merlin were lounging around in one of Chaldea's recreational rooms. As they were relaxing, they noticed that Arturia and her counterparts came into the room and immediately knelt to the ground in a knight-like way. My king, Gawain, Lancelot, Tristan, Bedivere, Mordred, Gareth, and Merlin said. Gareth, Lancelot, Tristan, Bedivere, Mordred, Gareth, and Merlin. I have a request to ask of all of you, Arturia said. Sure. What is it, my king? Gawain asked. Shirou's birthday is coming up soon, and me and my counterparts need all of your help to prepare a party for him. Eh? Mother's birthday is coming up soon? Mordred asked. Yes. I see. What are your orders, my king? Bedivere asked. Simple, Bedivere, Mordred, and Gareth are responsible for distracting Shirou and his counterparts from finding out about the party, and while Gawain, Lancelot, Tristan, and Master are responsible for the decorations and the party room. Merlin, you're responsible for getting the gifts. Merlin let out a smile. As you wish, my king. My king. What are you going to do along with your counterparts? Tristan asked. We're going to bake a giant cake for all of us to share, Arturia said with a smile on her face. The Knights of the Round and Merlin were surprised by Arturia's words. Really? How are all of you going to do that? Simple. Each of us will focus on a task in order to make the cake. I see. That is great judgment, my king, Gareth said. Good. Now then, let's begin. And so, Arturia, the Knights of the Round, Merlin, and Ritsuka began the plan. Back to the present. Even now, the tasks we're assigned to do is like the same as last time, with a few minor adjustments of course, Gawain said. You can say that again. Anyways, no more dilly-dally. We've got work to finish, Lancelot reminded. Yes. Alright, now all we need to do is to make the cream, Arturia said. I'm already on it. Arturia Lily and Castor Arturia said as she was following the directions in making the cream. Right now, Arturia and her counterparts were in a private room with the same giant oven Shirou used a year ago. In order to save time and efficiency, Arturia and her counterparts were given a different part of the recipe, and their job was to complete that part of the recipe. For example, Arturia Lily and Castor Arturia oversaw making the icing of the cake. Meanwhile, Lancer Arturia, her altered counterpart, and Ruler Arturia oversaw the decorations for the cake by cutting the strawberries into pieces. Mysterious Heroine X, X-Alter, and XX oversaw the inside of the cake by making the cream that was going to hold the cake together. Lastly, Arturia, her altered counterpart, Archer Arturia, Rider Arturia Alter, and Santa Arturia Alter oversaw the cake itself. And this was one large cake they were going to make. Alright. I'm done with my portion of the cake batter, Arturia said. So am I, Arturia Alter said. Same, Archer Arturia said. Me too, Rider Arturia Alter said. I'm done as well, Santa Arturia Alter said. Good. Now I'll be checking on the others. Arturia then headed where Arturia Lily and Castor Arturia was. How's the icing coming along? Great. Do you want a taste? Arturia Lily asked. Yeah. It tastes good, you know. Castor Arturia said. Arturia then grabbed a small spoon nearby and took a spoonful of the frosting. As she tasted it, it just has the right amount of sweetness for a birthday cake. Well? Arturia Lily and Castor Arturia asked. Arturia let out a smile. It's perfect. Arturia Lily and Castor Arturia then let out a smile as well. Great! Arturia then went over to where Lancer Arturia, her altered counterpart, and Ruler Arturia were. How's the fruits going? Great. We're done cutting them and now we're going to coat them in sugar, Lancer Arturia said. Not all of them though. We're only using half of them for the cream that's going to happen soon, Lancer Arturia Alter said. Indeed, Ruler Arturia said. Arturia nodded in agreement and headed towards where Mysterious Heroine X, X-Alter, and XX were. How's the cream? Perfect. We got to taste great and not be heavy at the same time. Mysterious Heroine X said. Great. Now, did any of you do anything funny to the cream? Arturia asked. All three heroines shook their heads sideways in reply. No. We followed the instructions on the cream, Mysterious Heroine X Alter said. It's true. I checked on them, Mysterious Heroine XX said. Arturia let out a sigh of relief. Good. Now that everyone is done with their part, let's make the cake. Yeah. Arturia's counterparts said in agreement. Soon, Arturia, her altered counterpart, Archer Arturia, Writer Arturia Alter, and Santa Arturia Alter then put their cake batters into cake tins and placed them into the giant oven. Meanwhile, Mysterious Heroine X Alter, and XX used the remaining strawberry pieces and mixed them into the cream. After a while, the cake was done baking, and Arturia, her altered counterpart, Archer Arturia, Writer Arturia Alter, and Santa Arturia Alter took the cakes out. After they took the cakes out, they released them from the cake tins and began to layer the cakes with the mixture of strawberry pieces and cream in the middle of each cake. Afterwards, they then began to add frosting to the cake and the other half of the strawberry pieces to the cake. Finally, they put the cake in a customized fridge that big enough to size the cake to cool it down. Phew. We're done with the cake, Arturia said with a sigh of relief. Indeed. Even with all of us working together, it took a long time to make the cake, Arturia Alter said. Yes. But we finally done it. Arturia Lily said. And soon, we'll present it in front of Shirou and his counterparts, Lancer Arturia said. Exactly. And then we'll all share it together, Lancer Arturia Alter said. This will be one birthday Shirou will never forget. Ruler Arturia said. Indeed. Speaking of which, don't we also have to make the food? After all, the party isn't complete without food, Archer Arturia said. Don't worry. I asked Merlin earlier to pick up some fast food from various restaurants from the mini mall, Writer Arturia Alter said. Good idea. We're pretty much out of time now, so it's probably better to get some fast food from other places, Santa Arturia Alter said. I agree with you. There's not much time to make something else now, Mysterious Heroine X said. Yeah. Not to mention the fact that we need to clean up later. Mysterious Heroine X Alter said. And don't forget what happened after the meeting we had with the Knights of the Round. Mysterious Heroine XX said. At that moment, Arturia and her counterparts let out a sigh as they remembered what happened after they had their meeting with the Knights of the Round. A few days ago, Arturia and her counterparts were about to leave the room they were in after they were done asking the Knights of the Round. However, before they could leave, there was a bunch of people outside of the room, which consists of Ishtar and her counterparts, Parvati, Bibi, and her sisters, Ilya and her counterparts, Miyu, Astria, Jaguarman, Irisville, and Karitsagu. Sorry, Saber. They found out already. Irisville apologized. Arturia and her counterparts had their mouths dropped at the sight in front of them. What do you want? About what all of you were talking about earlier, you said that Emiya Kuan's birthday is within a few days. Ishtar and her counterparts asked. Why yeah? Arturia replied. That's not fair, spending Senpai's birthday ahead of us. Parvati, Bibi, and her sisters said creepily. Yeah, and making a cake for Oniai-chan. Ilya, her counterparts, and Miyu muttered. That is quite deceptive of you, King of Knights. Astria muttered. How dare all of you try to celebrate Shirou's birthday without me? Jaguarman muttered. Well, what do you want me to do about it? Arturia Alter asked. For a moment, the girls were silent before letting out their answer in a loud way. We want to get involved in this as well. Back to the present. Arturia Alter let out a sigh. Yeah. And because of that, some unexpected guests are being invited to the party. She muttered. Well, to be fair, we were about to talk to them next, but apparently they found out already before we could, and it created a giant misunderstanding. Luckily, we managed to calm them down, Lancer Arturia said. Yeah. From what I heard from Irisville, they're buying gifts for Shirou and his counterparts right now, Arturia said. I know. Well, you know what they say, the more, the merrier, Arturia Lily said optimistically. It was then that Merlin came into the room, holding multiple bags. I got the items you needed, my king, he said. Great. You got the food and the gifts that Shirou and his counterparts wanted? Arturia Alter asked. Merlin let out a smile. Yes. I've got the newest cooking sets and the vast amount of fast food from the various restaurants you asked me to do, he said as he placed the bags onto the table. Good. Now let's wrap this party up. Arturia yelled. Yeah. Arturia's counterparts yell in unison. And Arturia, her counterparts, and Merlin began to do the final touches of the party. Soon, the Knights of the Round soon joined them, along with the other guests as well. All that was left was the guests of honor. So, this is where Master wanted us to go to? Shirou asked as they were following the directions of a map he, Emiya, and Emiya Alter were going through. Seems so. I don't know why Master told us to come here. Emiya said. Does it really matter? All we need to do is just go here and that's it, Emiya Alter said. Shirou let out a small sigh. I'm never going to understand him, even though he's me. Soon, Shirou, Emiya, and Emiya Alter arrived at the destination Ritsuka told them to go to. Well, here we are, Shirou said. Are you sure this is the room Master told us to go to? Emiya asked. I'm pretty sure, Shirou replied. Well, let's go in and see what's in the room Master wants us to go, Emiya Alter said. Soon, Shirou, Emiya, and Emiya Alter then went into the room. As they did, they noticed that the room was completely dark on the inside, prompting Shirou, Emiya, and Emiya Alter to find the light switch. However, they did not have to. Because as the door closed behind them, the lights were suddenly lit up, and immediately afterwards, a bunch of noises were made. In an instant, confetti rained down on them as they were trying to process what was going on. As their eyes got better, they then heard a few certain words that shocked them. Happy birthday Shirou, /EMIYAKUN/senpai, /ONII-chan, /Shirou, /my queen /mother. In an instant, Shirou, Emiya, and Emiya Alter were shocked at the scene in front of them. In front of them were Arturia and her counterparts, Ishtar and her counterparts, Parvati, Bibi and her sisters, Ilya and her counterparts, Miyu, Astria, Irisville, Karitsugu, Jaguarman, the Knights of the Round, Merlin, and Ritsuka in front of them along with a giant table of food, drinks, and a giant cake in the middle of them all. There was also a table of gifts as well. For a moment, all three of them were shocked at what just transpired. Is this? Shirou asked, but was cut off from Arturia and her counterparts. Yes. Today is your birthday, Shirou. Arturia yelled. Oh really? Yeah. Why else would we have a party like this, you idiot? Ishtar yelled. It's what you deserve after all, senpai, Parvati said with a smile on her face. After all, today is April 15th, your birthday Onii-chan. Ilya said. How did you know that today is my birthday? I haven't even told anyone about this, Emiya asked. I told them. It's my duty as your mother after all. Irisville said happily. Exactly Shirou. Irisville is right, Karitsugu said. Shirou, Emiya, and Emiya Alter let out a small inward sigh. Of course. Anyways. Today is your birthday, Shirou. Jaguar Man yelled in excitement. Exactly. Today should be a glorious moment for you, Shirou. So, enjoy it. Astria said proudly. Indeed, my queen/mother. The knights of the round along with Merlin yelled. Yeah. After all, you can only celebrate it once a year, Ritsuka said with a smile on his face. For a moment, Shirou, Emiya, and Emiya Alter were silent upon hearing everyone's words. Then, in a surprise turn of events, all three of them were tearing up from their eyes. Wow, to think people actually remembered when my birthday is. Emiya thought while chuckling a bit. Wow, even I forgot when my birthday is. Emiya Alter thought as he was chuckling a bit. Shirou was wiping some of the tears that came out of his eyes. Everyone, thank you. He said with a huge smile on his face. No problem, Shirou, Ritsuka said. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's eat. Jaguar Man yelled in excitement. Upon hearing Jaguar Man's words, Arturia and her counterparts, Ishtar and her counterparts, Parvati, Bibi and her sisters, Ilya and her counterparts, Miyu, Astria, Irisville, Kiritsugu, the Knights of the Round, and Merlin along with Shirou, Emiya, and Emiya Alter began to dig into the food, and it was a crazy sight. Arturia and her counterparts, Mordred, Jaguar Man, and Ritsuka were chowing down on the food. Ishtar and her rider counterpart was still fighting with Astria over who gets to give their respective gifts first to Shirou. Parvati was chatting among Bibi, and her sisters, Ilya, her counterparts, and Miyu were chatting with Irisville and Kiritsugu, and Gawain, Lancelot, Tristan, Bedivere, Gareth, and Merlin were chatting among each other. All in all, everyone was having a great time. Shirou, Emiya, and Emiya Alter looked at the spectacle. You know, this is something I would have never expected to happen, Emiya said. Really? Shirou asked. Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time since I've celebrated my birthday. Heck, I've even forgotten about it already, until now that is. Me too, Emiya Alter said. It was then Merlin joined into the conversation. Quite the party, isn't it? He asked with a smile on his face. Yeah. Was this your idea? Shirou asked Merlin. Merlin let out a laugh. Nope. It was my students and her counterparts' idea. They came up with the idea of giving you a birthday party after hearing from Irisville that today is your birthday. I see. At that moment, Arturia came over to Shirou was holding a slice of cake on a plate in her hand. Hey Shirou, do you want some cake? Sure, he replied as he was about to get his own slice of cake. However, what happened next was that Arturia took a chunk of her slice of cake on a fork and put it in front of Shirou's face. Here, she said. Shirou was confused for a moment. Arturia? You did ask for some cake, so here it is. Say ah. Shirou looked at Emiya, then Emiya Alter, and then Merlin, who had the look on their faces that said, do it. Resigning to his fate, Shirou then got closer to where the fork was and took the piece of cake into his mouth. Well? Is it good? Arturia asked. Shirou nodded in reply. It's good. Arturia let out a smile. Glad that you liked it. Me and my counterparts worked on it. However, what they didn't know was that they were being watched by everyone else in the room, especially Arturia's counterparts, Ishtar and her counterparts, Parvati, Bibi and her sisters, Ilya and her counterparts, Miyu and Astria. And they were extremely jealous. Hey! That's not fair, the girls yelled. Shirou and Arturia jumped at the sound of the collective voices. It's not fair of you to go ahead of us. Arturia's counterparts yelled. Hey! Who said you can do that first to Oniai-chan/senpai? Ilya, her counterparts, Miyu, Parvati, BB, and her sisters yelled. Hold on a second. I want to do that first with Shirou. Astria yelled. Huh? Like hell I would allow that. Ishtar, her rider counterpart, and Ereshkigal replied. Soon, things started to get out of control, and in an instant, it turned into a huge fight between the girls. Meanwhile, the knights of the round were cheering for Arturia's counterparts, Jaguarman still stuffing herself with food, and Ritsuka, Irisville, and Karitsugu watched. Wow! This is certainly on Crazy Party, I love it! Irisville exclaimed excitedly. Karitsugu let out a sigh. IRI. Oh boy! Ritsuka said. Oh my, guess this party got even more lively than before. Merlin said with a smile on his face. Shirou let out a sigh. Well, at least things can't get any more crazier. However, at that moment, the door opened, making everyone stop what they were doing now, to see who was at the door. And to their shock, it was Nero and her counterparts, Jean Darkalter, Okita and her counterpart, and Musashi. And they were holding gifts in each of their hands. Well, looks like things got a lot crazier, Emiya said. Shirou sighed again. Seems so.